when you are part of the neo-Nazi movement, and you stand up in the morning when you drink your first tea, and you hate all day, and you listen to music and you hang around with comrades who all hate. Hate is just part of your life every second. I was born in Lübeck. It's a small town nearby Hamburg. My parents were quite wealthy. I didn't lack anything in my young life, and I had a good childhood. I didn't get any violence from my parents or was abused or anything. And yeah, going to school and everything was running very fine. Till my father decided that we're moving from Lübeck, that we're moving up to Newcastle. I was 10 years old at that time, and that was quite a shock for me as a 10-year-old. I didn't even know where England is or what Newcastle is, and I didn't speak one word in English. On the way to the school, the first person spit on me, and I arrived in the class, and somebody just threw out my stuff. I was like brought into the class, and just everybody looked at me like, "That's a German." They never seen a German before, and they called me a Nazi. Kraut and Fritz and whatever you guys call Germans, and I didn't understand it. I never heard the word Nazi before or anything. I didn't know about it. My parents picked me up from school, and I was crying. I said, "I want to go back to Germany. I hate it here. I don't understand anybody. I don't have any friends." That's the first time in my life that I was feeling being alone. But I started to learn English. I had no choice. After maybe 6 months, I could speak English better than now. Yeah, I forgot a lot now. And it took a long time to show I'm not a Nazi. We didn't know. My parents are not neo-Nazis or anything. But it took like 1 year for the first person to come to my house. I didn't speak German anymore. I only spoke English, and yeah, I was now 14 years old. We stayed like for 4 years, and then my parents decided to go back to Germany. This time, I just didn't cry just anymore. I was very angry and very violent, like throwing doors and just shouting at my parents, "I want to stay in Newcastle." Yeah, I was very proud. I was called the German Geordie in Newcastle, and I was very proud of it. And yeah, but I had no choice. 14 years old, I had to move back with my parents.
How did you kind of first make contact with the neo-Nazi groups?
I'm now 15 and a half years old, and I was just an angry lad, just starting to hate everything. Like, I hated school, I hated society, and we came to music, to angry music. It's racial white power music, and these people, they sing about about a lot of people. They hate everybody, like Jewish people, Muslims, like gay people, like every Democrat, like police and justice, and every Democrat, and they hate everybody in the music. Yeah, they can sing about everybody. I had the feeling they're talking directly to me and saying, "Philip, remember, you belong to the best people in the world. You are an Aryan. You belong to the 1 or 2% on this earth who are the best people in the world. You should be ruling this world. It's about white power. It's about saving your race. And it's when you come to us, you will become part of our big family. Yeah, we are the good ones. We are fighting for Europe." And this music was the first time in 2 years at that point who said to me, I'm a good person. Yeah, my parents forgot to say this to me. School forgot to say this to me, and this white power music did this. I know this is very difficult to say, but right-wing movement works for a short time. Yeah, if it wouldn't work, it would have been disappeared. I had this anger in me, and then it just needed a sort of small light, like for me to explode. So I became very violent at school, and on the schoolyard, I found some other guys that were very angry as well. We just started to hang around, like 5, 6, 7 guys, and we didn't want to belong to society anymore. Yeah, we said, well, we don't want to be a part. We don't want to wear your clothes. We don't want to wear you whatever you wear. We don't want to listen to your music, and we don't want to be part of your society. And then some older comrades, they heard, oh, there are these young guys like hanging around, and they are in no movement. Yeah, they're just hanging around. And they said, well, just on the weekend, just come to our pub, and then we'll buy you a beer, and we'll have a barbecue. And then the politics came. Like, we first did it on a friendship basis. Just putting some ties, some loose ties, and then when you start to hang around, you say, well, you take that music, you listen to that. Here's a T-shirt. Here's like, or next weekend we're traveling to Berlin. There's something from our right-wing party. For a short time, they gave us the feeling of seeing us. I don't know how you say it in English. Like, all right, I see you guys. You are angry. You can be part of us, of our movement. I wanted to believe. And I was scared as a 16 or 17-year-old to talk against the older comrades. Yeah, I wanted to be part of their family and their group, and that was all I had at that time. A big role played at that time that were neo-Nazi concerts, just like meeting up with 500 or 1,000 people, just like Sieg Heiling in the concert, and that sort of gives you a feeling you're ultra strong, like hanging around with 1,000 lads and just hating and just shouting at this music. You think you're unbeatable. Yeah, you think you're very important, and that was the thing that worked very well at this point. I don't know how to say it in English, but even the evil can have charisma. Yeah, it is, and nobody is all day long evil. Yeah, they can be also a good friend, but they're still very violent and spread this hate.
Obviously, you mentioned your family, and how were they reacting to this?
My parents thought, all right, this is just like a short phase. I don't know. Yeah, can you see? It's just like a short phase, and it will grow out. Yeah, all right. He's now a little bit violent, but everything will be sorted out in 1 or 2 years. And they just looked away. I think they didn't want to see it. I put a swastika, a flag in my room. Yeah, and my mom just came in and just put it down and just hid it from me. And I just searched the house and I put it back on, and my mother put it back off. They just didn't talk with us. Our family just didn't sit down and talk. And at one point, I didn't want to talk anymore. As soon as I had these friends, I just didn't want to talk with my parents anymore. As soon as they asked me something, I just said, fuck off.
What kind of is expected of you if you're to join this group?
It is expected from you that you visit demonstrations, that you put some power into the movement. They want to rewrite history. They say we have a different view on history. We have different facts. They have like books for themselves where they say we are the victims. We are not the aggressor. But there are some things that every group thinks of. It's the first point. It is racism. That's the easiest thing to live out. You don't have to have a good school education or have to study or anything. Yeah, you can just put people into races and just say, well, I belong to the best, and you don't. You belong to somebody worthless. That's very easy. So racism was everywhere. It belongs the anti-Semitism. Like hating Jewish people and saying Jewish people are like directing the world. And of course, a new thing which came up in the last 10, 15 years is the hate against Muslims coming to Europe, and like these groups say, like they're trying to force out Christianity. Most of the people in the neo-Nazi scene are looking for a new Führer, like a strong man. Isn't allowed to be a woman, yeah, for a neo-Nazi. So they're looking for a strong man. Like in Germany, you say we need a little Hitler, yeah.
And would you and your comrades racially abuse people on the street in public, or was it all kind of done in secret?
Yeah, sometimes people think like neo-Nazis go out on the street and they just hate like everybody they see. Yeah, then that doesn't work. But of course, when we were as a group in Thun, then we had picked like on some guys when we were in a group, and we had shouted at them racial things and looking for a fight. That was normal life. It started for me being violent. Just it sounds maybe strange, but yeah, just fighting with fists, and yeah, just some bruises, and you get better at violence. Just like you get better when you train to ride a bicycle or go swimming, you just become better at it, and you start to organize weapons, like using a knife, and then I organized my first gun, and I was stabbed down when I was 17, just running around as well, like stabbing people. At the beginning, where I came into this group, and we felt very strong, and I thought I was part of something very big. I was growing, and now the people started to fear me. So I was maybe not happy, but I felt the first time after many years being part of something. When you are part of the neo-Nazi movement, and you stand up in the morning when you drink your first tea, and you hate all day, and you listen to music, and you hang around with comrades who all hate. Hate is just part of your life every second. The first thing you lose is like empathy for people. Yeah, I didn't feel anything for human beings anymore. So it was very easy for me like to be violent at them, because I didn't see them as human beings. And then it just got more and more, like to the point I was shooting at people to kill them.
And you mentioned like actively shooting at people. Did you ever see anybody die?
I founded a comrade group. Yeah, I was a leader of a very well-known comrade group in Germany, and these comrades at a New Year's Eve, they killed somebody in their apartment. I wasn't there, but they were my boys at that time. But I wasn't part of it. But I was like very nearby. Yeah, that was very terrible when they killed somebody. I was just a little bit shocked at how cold-blooded they did it. Yeah, they just didn't see a human being there. On this night, somebody who visited them, they cut his throat, and they were talking about it like they stamped like on an ant on the floor or something. That was the first time for me to think about, is this the right movement? Yeah, are these the right people I'm hanging around with? But it still took a while to go out of that movement. But I was shocked how cold-blooded it was.
Did you have any guilty conscience about what you were doing? Or?
At that point, no. All the years I was in this movement, I always thought I was right. When you are in these groups, you start to lie to yourself. Yeah, you think you are the good one, but inside I knew we are the bad ones. And but I lied to myself, and I thought we are doing everything right. And and all extremists say we are the victims. We only fight back. Yeah, we fight back to the police, to the democracy, and we are the victims. So yeah, I thought I was always right.
Can you talk about your kind of rise through the ranks?
We always prepared ourselves in the belief that one day we will arise and take over democratic structures, like taking over the council, the mayor's office, and the police stations. In order to do this on this day when we arise, we need weapons and we have to be prepared. And this was quite easy in a short time to like unite like 30, 40, 50 people really on the radical side to prepare for civil war in Germany. All the time I was active in this movement, I always bought weapons. When I was 18 or 19 years old, I bought my first Kalashnikov and a AK-47. I had many machine guns from the Second World War, which we bought from old veterans, and we bought a Panzerfaust, I don't know, like a rocket launcher, some hand grenades and everything. We just we made like deposits in the woods, yeah, like a prepper, but we also planned attacks on like I don't know, the Antifa, the anti-fascist scene, or some lefties, how we called it, I don't know. So we had fights with them, just attacking them. When we see them on the streets, we waited around corners, attacking them. So violence was part, like others go once a week, like out for dinner or something. We just planned violence.
Were there any points where you were arrested during this time?
Yeah, I was arrested a lot of times, of course. I had a lot of police raids at my house. I was pulled out of the, I don't know if you have like police SWAT or special forces, like they raided like my car and pulled me out with guns. And yeah, I had a lot of trouble with police, but I was arrested, and I was out on probation. I don't know, I think probation for 16 years. Can you imagine? Yeah, I had a probation next to another probation. I had like 16 years probation. I was arrested the first time when I was 33. I had my first prison time.
And had you seen anyone leave the far-right movement, and if so, how were they treated for leaving?
Well, all I had in my life was I didn't have any contact to my family, just once or twice a year, just calling them for Christmas, yeah, and just saying, yeah, hello. And as a young lad, this movement told me, come to us, yeah, we're the good ones, here's family, we see you, and we'll take care of you, and all these good things. But the older I got, I looked around to the comrades, and to be honest, there were a lot of people within this movement. They were not socialized at all. They didn't go to work. Yeah, they couldn't live a life. They were full of debt with their money. Yeah, and just had enormous social problems. What I thought is the right life, and I was promoting, but it just made me very unhappy, and I became like, I fell into a sort of depression living this life. I didn't have any friends outside this movement. I only had this group. So when you decide to go out of the National Socialist movement, then you lose everything. You are called very quickly a traitor, I think, a traitor. And the aggression from the group will come towards you.
And how was it for you leaving?
I sort of lied to them. Yeah, I just said, oh, I don't feel so good, and I need a break, sort of. Yeah, I'm still fighting, and I need a break, and even that is for many of the comrades, like they said, why, how, you need a break fighting for your race, yeah, what is this? So they already talk behind your back. But I did it very slowly going out of it. Yeah, I lied to them, and then at one point I said, all right, I'm out and I'm doing something else, but we'll stay friends. Yeah, that's the way I choose. There are many ways to do it. I think the best way is just to go and just move somewhere else, but that everybody has to decide that for themselves. You know, when you have been an outlaw for 15 years and you're outside of society in Germany, when you're a neo-Nazi in Germany, you are not part of society. Most of the people in Germany just hate you for being a neo-Nazi. And there were a lot of articles about me on the internet and on the television and everything. And going out of that group, I was scared of is society giving me a chance again? Yeah, if I want to change, will people give me their hand again? Is it allowed for me to be loved again, or to love somebody and to take part in normal society life? And will people believe me? It's a question till today. Maybe somebody from your team will sit here and say, once a Nazi, always a Nazi, or something. All these big questions was something which made me think, and I was really scared of changing because of all these questions. I think you cannot change your life overnight. It is not like it is everybody who has changed in their life. They know that's a journey. My National Socialist view on the world and my thinking died over many years. Yeah. And I think the best way, like it worked, I think from my point of view, is like to meet people. Yeah, not just to read books or study or anything. You have to meet people from different countries, from different beliefs, so you can lose your racial view, your view like on the world. And I knew I needed professional help. Because of this life I lived so long in this movement. And I went to the prison psychiatric, and I asked him for help. I said, I think I'm a loony, and I destroyed my life, and I need help. I think it's a superpower for everybody out there to ask for help. That's an absolute superpower. And he said, yeah, all right, I will work with you. I was sentenced to 3 years in prison. And he worked with me on my views and on my handling strategies, and I was very thankful for this help in prison. I became a Buddhist in prison, and that was very important to get like professional help. That was very important.
Were you ashamed of your past?
Yeah, of course. When I really started to when I stepped out, that was the first time I was thinking about what I did to people. Like when you realize when you are mid-30 and you realize the last 20 years, you only destroyed lives. From these 20 years, there's not one person who will say, "Oh, all right, that's good that I met Philip." You just have bad influence on everything, on people and on society. Then when I was on prison and I approached this change and I wanted to change, I was so mad at myself that the first half year in prison, like I put a towel on my prison mirror because I couldn't look. I didn't want to see my face because I hated myself so much. Then in prison, I lost the first time in my life. I lost the idea of wanting to live. Like maybe it's time to die. Like thinking about committing suicide. Like that's very hard to to find yourself thinking about committing suicide. And the first questions when I went to this psychiatric was, is it all right for me to be loved again? Yeah, because I did these things. Is it all right for me to come back to society? And he said, when you want to stop hating, when you want to stop being violent and hating foreigners or hating people, then it's your right to change. And then do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. I used the time in prison to be mad at myself and hating myself, and then I left this this feeling being guilty behind me. I was angry at me. I apologized to my victims, and I left it behind me now.
And how old were you when you were released from prison?
I was 38 when I was released from prison, yeah. When I now think about it, it was like 15 wasted years, really. I destroyed the lives of my victims. I destroyed the families of my victims. I destroyed my family. I destroyed my life. There's nothing good about these 15 years. I just hate myself for living this life. Maybe in the beginning, when I was a young guy, that we were hanging around, yeah, for a short time, I had this feeling there was like the family feeling, but this didn't even hold for 6 months. So there was really nothing good about living this life. It was just full with hate and violence.
From that point, how did you take the steps to rebuild your life to where you are now?
Yeah, I was very thankful, and I'm still thankful for my parents and my sister and my brother-in-law who took me back into the family without any suspicion against me, and I came out of prison and I started with 0 friends. Yeah, I just didn't. I just put all the contacts away. I was not available for anybody. And I moved back to my old city, to Lübeck, and I started just with 0 friends, and then I started to talk about my life at YouTube, and I started to go out to do sports again, and I met some people, and they said, well, all right, I give you a chance, and then now 6 years later, I'm going to get married this summer, and I have very good friends now around me, and I enjoy my new life to the fullest.
What's the main thing you would want people to take away from hearing your story?
It can happen to everybody. It is not like it's not only poor people radicalize, or people in Muslim communities, or in like worker families or everything. It can happen to everybody. It's all right to be angry. It's all right. Just not everybody fits into this one system school. There are times where you just have to be a friend. Just be there. Yeah. Just not leave anybody behind, and don't just say, all right, my kids, and just let them alone, and your problems are not so bad. Just listen to them, be aware, and just give some love. I think if I would have had this, I wouldn't have radicalized myself.
There was a guy sitting on the train opposite with his wife and his 2 kids, and he had a Crystal Palace lapel badge, just a little badge on his jacket. The guy saw it, he leant across and he punched the bloke squarely in the face, and then hit him 3 more times, in front of his wife and his 2 kids.